Hello, my friends. Welcome to another video. So I hope you had an excellent long weekend. If you celebrated Memorial Day, I did a lot of relaxing and a lot of stressing because I have a mouse in my house and I cannot catch the sucker. It's been driving me crazy, and I have 3 cats that are useless. So I have some catch and release traps set because I refuse to kill anything, and I'm hoping he'll walk into one of them. If not, I'm going to lose my mind. Other than that, everything's great. So today I'm working with a brand new paint from a company called Novacolor. Now, this is my first time using this paint. I had not heard the company, but I did a little research, and they've actually been around since 1965. They're based out of California. Their prices are very reasonable. Believe this is the colors are $4.50 each, and they're really pigmented. The consistency, I'll show you in a second, is kind of like between a golden fluid color and a medium body paint, I would say, and you don't have to use a lot of them. So they have a ton, and I mean a ton of colors, and unique colors at that, things that you don't see in a lot of other lines. For example, I was on the website and they had a orange pearl, which I'm going to ask them for because that's just a really unique color. And then they have some really cool purples and just a bunch of different beautiful colors. And then they also offer, which I like because I'm a mixed media artist, things like gels, texture pastes. This Nova gel, for example, is a good one. I'm going to put up on the screen all the things that you can do with it. But let's say you have this paint and it's a little runny, not very runny. Again, I'll show you in a second. But let's say you want to do a beautiful palette knife painting with your paints and you need them to be a little bit thicker. You can add some of this in there and it'll thicken them right up for you. So they have a lot of different products, gessos, texture pastes. I'm going to link the website in the description for you, okay? But today I wanted to do a peacock pour. So a peacock pour is just using the colors that are commonly seen in a peacock feather and maybe a few extras. So I pulled out purples, blues, greens, turquoise. You can see here some pinks. And what I think I'm going to do is a blowout. I see a lot of people struggling with their blowouts, whether, they're doing just a simple edge of the canvas type of thing or trying to go down the center. There's a lot of people complaining that they're not being able to keep their design on the canvas. It's spreading out too much. And I'm going to explain why that happens. So a lot of you have seen this guy. This here can be your best friend and your biggest enemy if you are a beginner. So when I do my Dutch pours or blowouts, whatever you want to call them these days, I pour my paint, my base color, which is usually white or black. I'll pour it on the canvas and I tilt it around until the canvas is covered. Now, why do I do that? You can pour some paint here, spread it out nicely, and it looks nice and even on the canvas, but if you're not using the same amount of pressure and really paying attention to what you're doing, you can have more paint in the center of your canvas than you do around your edges. That's why when I do lessons on Dutch pour, I always tell people, if you're a beginner, pour the paint on the canvas and just tilt it around until the entire canvas is covered and it's dripping very slowly off the edges. You literally just want this canvas to have a very, very thin coat of paint on it. You don't want depth to your paint because what happens is the paint in the center starts to go like this and level out. It levels out. And when it's leveling out, it's taking your design off of the canvas with it. You can scrape the drips as much as you want. If you leave too much canvas on, or too much paint on your canvas, you're gonna lose your design. That's why I feel for beginners, it's easier to just pour some paint on there and tilt it around, which I'll show you today, versus using something like a spreader. It can really, really help you with that problem. Now let's say that you're getting enough canvas base paint off your canvas and your design is still moving. That means your color paint that you put on the canvas, you've used too much and you're not getting enough of it off. The bottom line is spreading and losing your design has to do with the amount of paint on your canvas. So for every pour out there, really, that base paint just needs to coat the canvas. You don't need it to be floating on top of the canvas. So let me show you these colors really quick and what their consistency is like. So this one here is the blue-green. See, they're nice and creamy. So they're not as thick as a medium body, almost as thick as a medium body. I would say they're more like a soft body paint, okay? And you're not going to need much of these to color whatever medium you're using. Today I'm going to make it simple. We're just going to use American Floetrol and the paint, maybe a little bit of water if we need it. So let me show you how I'm going to mix these colors. Just one I will do. They will all be mixed the same. I'll put some paint in the cup, just like that. There's really no measurement. For a little 3-ounce Dixie cup, you don't need much at all. Of course, if you use a cheaper brand paint, like a craft paint, like Apple Barrel, something like that, then you're going to probably have to use a little bit more because they're not as pigmented. But when you use good quality paints, you don't have to do that. That's why they're more money, but you end up using a lot less and they last a lot longer. So I'm just doing a small canvas. I don't need much of each color, maybe a tablespoon, if that, of each color. So this is American Floetrol ice strained. That's it. Give it a mix. And then we'll see if we need water. If you need help with knowing what the consistencies are for all the different pours, I will be making sure to link a video and a free printable chart down in the description. The video will teach you how to use that chart the right way. So now that we've mixed it, we're going to check our consistency. Now for a regular acrylic pour, something like a flip cup or a straight or dirty pour, this would be good. You know, all your 3D tool pours that you do, this would be a really good consistency. It flows off the stick in one steady stream. It leaves a mound on the surface and slowly disappears. Let me put on the flash for you so you can see that good. Okay, that's good for all pours except for the Dutch pour. If you want to try to do a pearl cell type of pour, that would be too thick. And the bloom technique, this would be too thin. All right, but again, if you're new and wondering about all those different pours and consistencies for them, watch that video in the description. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my color, and I'll do that by adding a few drops at a time, maybe like 5 to 10. Start with 5. It won't take much for this. What you're looking for the Dutch pour is it to flow off the stick and maybe make a little tiny mound and disappear right away. So that's why it's so hard to understand consistency when you're watching through a video. Hands-on learning is the best, because you can be with me right now, feeling the thickness of this paint. So see how it's flowing a little faster, and watch the surface, watch the paint. It's called trace. It leaves the design that you swirl on the surface. You see that? Trace. So see how it's disappearing right away? That's what you're looking for in the Dutch pour. You don't want that design that you drizzle in the cup to stay on the surface of the paint very long. Just, it needs to go away quickly. So that's a good color right there. All done. And speaking of hands-on learning, August 6th, I will be teaching a full day class on acrylic pouring, A to Z class, the regular techniques and the bloom technique. So if you're in the Dallas area, I have a link in the description you can click on, reserve your spot today. There's not many left. So that's how I'm going to mix up all of my colors. Same exact thing. Just going to put a little paint in the cup and mix them all up. So I have my colors mixed up here, but I want to show you something. I want to make a couple of different colors here. This is the purple, the violet that I mixed up. Now, what I have here is a cup of Blue Black Indigo by Atelier, all right? Mixed the same exact way as the others. I want to make a little bit of a darker version of this Quinacridone violet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this in the cup. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this. Like that. And I'm going to mix them together. And now what I have is a beautiful, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Let me turn the flash on for you. A beautiful, really, really dark purple, like an eggplant. Do you see that? How pretty that is? So by adding a little bit of that blue black in there, look at that. How gorgeous. Okay. Now, let's try that also with this color here. Now I have a cerulean blue color that I just made, or like a deeper turquoise. So let's add a little bit more because I'm not happy with that shade. I want it a little bit darker. All right, so now, see that? So yeah, you can do that with your paints, combine them to make them different shades. This is Artist Loft Flow Acrylic White in a bottle mixed with American Floetrol. Just like my other paints. I just use quadruple the amounts to get a larger volume, but it's all mixed the same. So what I'm going to do is show you now what I mean by tilting. So I'll pour some paint in the center of the canvas. Now, a lot of people don't want to do this because they feel they're wasting whatever paint drips on the table. But let me assure you, you're wasting more paint when you don't get your painting to come out right. Now that's full of bubbles because I just shook it up, so we're going to have to definitely torch it. But yeah, you're wasting more paint if you don't achieve the painting that you want. You're not happy with it. You may throw it out or, you know, paint over it. So that's waste. I'd rather waste a little bit on the table than an entire canvas and all the paint that I used to make it. So this is the way I do it. I put it on the canvas, I tilt it around, I stretch it as far as it can go. If it's not enough, I'll keep adding a little bit more until the canvas is thoroughly coated. So see how it's really going slow, stretching. I know that I have plenty of paint on that canvas now. There's no depth. It's just got a thin coat of paint on it. And this way, when I add my colors and blow them out, they're not going to move the way they would if there was a bunch of paint on there that we forgot to get off. So I'm stretching. I think we have just enough here. And then you can go around and do your sides. And I'm going to show you how much paint I wasted. Which in reality, if you have a clean table, you can just scoop it up and put it back into a container. Okay, that's how much paint I wasted. And I know for a fact now that I have the perfect amount of paint on my canvas. And like I said, you can go around with your squeeze bottle if you want. Touch up your sides. Whatever you want. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a very thin line of color here. And I'm going to blow it upwards. If you like to do the pattern that goes through the center of the canvas, you could do it that way. Whatever design you're looking for. If you're failing at the shape when you blow it out, like you're not happy with the shape because it doesn't look like a Canella painting or somebody else's, that is all technique. That's something you have to learn. That's something you have to learn by practicing a lot and failing. You have to kind of figure it out. You know, we can only tell you so much and show you so much, but a lot of it is just failing and trying again and learning on your own, to be honest. So as far as color goes, now, if you were to do the center of the canvas, for a 12-inch round, you would need a line about, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch wide. After you put down all your colors, the width of your line of colors should be no more than a ½ inch. The bigger your canvas, the wider that line would be. I would say for something that's like a 16 by 20, you would want your line of color to be about 1.5 inches wide, and that's plenty of color. Also, when blowing out paint, the first color you put down is going to be the color that kind of outlines your entire pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my blue black. That's my darkest color. And you don't have to use the darkest. That's just what I'm doing. And I'm going to pour the paint out on the canvas, almost like a crescent moon, just like this. And then I'll just add each color on top of that. When it comes to your gold, you want to make sure you sandwich that in between other colors, because when that gold mixes with other colors, it creates really pretty cells, whereas if you put it on top, you're not going to get as many cells. Okay? And if you do a design like I'm doing here, it's okay to have a wider path of color, because a lot of this I'm blowing backwards over the edge. But for a small canvas like this, you wouldn't want this much paint going through the center. You'd want it half of that width. So now I think I'll take, let's see, some of my ultramarine blue. So I'll be sure to list the color names in the description for you. Just remember, I did make a couple of custom colors. All right, so it's plenty of paint. All right, so I'm going to put you on mute, and I'm going to blow this out. So again, because I'm blowing color over the edge, it's okay to have that much paint right there. But if I were just going through the center of the canvas, that would be way too much. So I'm using Flow, my little flower hair blow dryer. You could get that at Walmart. And always hold your blow dryer upside down if you can when blowing paint out. You have a much better control over the airflow holding it upside down. I have to say these paints were behaving beautifully. I had a really good time using them. Very saturated, great coverage. I was pretty impressed with them. So I do definitely look forward to using them some more. So after I get done blowing this out, I'm going to come in with my airbrush, who is named the Great Blowdini. For all of you new people that have signed on to my channel, I name all of my important tools that I use on this channel. And, you know, here's the Great Blowdini. I also have Marilyn Monblow. I have Flow. I have my Demon Dryer. Again, there's history behind that name on this channel and many, many more. But if you need a airbrush, this one is great for beginners that have no airbrush experience like me. I don't know how to use an airbrush to paint. I use it just to do my little wispy edges and stuff like that, but it's very easy. It's literally plug and go. So that's what I like about it. I am not good with technology or any type of tools. So I'm just kind of making the little wispies come out at the edge there. And then I'll be done with this piece. It was a very simple piece. I didn't want to go too crazy with it. I just wanted to see how the paints behaved. They worked wonderfully. I made sure to add in a couple of different brands with them to make sure there was no reaction, because sometimes a paint brand will not like another paint brand. They worked beautifully. And as you can see, again, the colors are just so bold. All right, so there you have it, a simple peacock pour, blowout, whatever you want to call it, peacock colors. Really, really pigmented these paints and very sexy, I must say. I like that color that I made too, combining the two together, the blue black and the Quinacridone violet. Very pretty color. So very simple. Got some shimmer in there, of course. A little bit of lacing and cells here and there, nothing overpowering. Very shimmery and sparkly, and I love it. And I hope you do too. So if you want to leave a comment below, I would really love that. I want to thank you for joining me today. All the information on these paints and much more in the description of the video. And again, August 6th in Dallas, Texas. Come on down and have a class with me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Information on that also below. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. And until the next time, happy pouring.